Hello guys and welcome to this video. In this video you will see a speed painting time-lapse of my Tina mask based on the design of Borderlands 3. So we're talking about the grown-up Tina. Well, enjoy, and meanwhile I will sometimes add some commentary or some tips or tricks that I learned during this process, and I hope it can provide you some good information for your own cosplay progress. Enjoy! Because the base layer of my mask was actually black, I used a lot of layers of ivory white to cover it up. Small note to yourself, if you're using a lot of light colors, make sure the base layer of your project is light as well. This will save you a lot of time, a lot of frustration, because I had to wait a long time in order to let it all dry up, which is kind of impossible for me because I'm a very impatient person. So just a small reminder to yourself, if you paint with light colors, use a light painted base coat. If you use a lot of dark colors, just use a dark one. Because the mask is attached to a headpiece, I wanted to make sure it's all lightweighted. For that I used EVA foam. You can sand down the EVA foam by using a nice grit, but doing so it might become fuzzy, which means the acrylics won't stick that well to it at all. In order to make sure it's all covered up in acrylics, just use a small painting brush and just dip it into the places that aren't really getting reached with a bigger acrylics brush, to make sure it's all equally painted. Next to having big brands acrylics like Amsterdam and Winsor & Newton, there are smaller brands which are most of the times a bit cheaper. The reason why they're cheaper is because they have less pigments in it, which means you need more layers to cover up and get the color which you like what happened with my green. My cats are pretty aware of when I'm painting, what I'm painting and where my paint is at. But today I was using ivory kind of colors which were laid on a white paper, which means Bruno didn't really know the difference. Yeah, that happened. He stepped into my paint and I had to clean it all up. He didn't really complain about it, he was pretty easygoing, so it was all said and done and no animals were harmed during this movement. After that I just needed to lay down my paint a little bit more and made sure my cat was on Instagram by posting he was such a twat by walking into my paint, and then I continued. After having done some research online, I figured out by having a good cell shade, you need to start with highlighting and shading your basic work first, before adding the white stripes and the black stripes. So after adding some white to the grey I used for the head strap, I added some basic highlights. a small note to yourself, if you're adding shade on a base coat, which is pretty thick on, make sure it's all dried up. I'm this kind of impatient kind of woman who just likes to add layer to layer and smudge it in. But because the base coat layer wasn't fully dried yet, I actually smudged it off. You can see it right above the left eyebrow. There's like a black kind of spot over there. I just have to lay it down over there, make sure I don't touch it, and make sure I dry it. So that's something I will edit on the upcoming part where I'll add the cell shadings, just to make sure it's all dried up fair enough so I can restore that part. After adding some white, this pretty much concludes this part of the Tina mask project. Feel free to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with my progress, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!